Okay, cool. So we start recording. I want to first ask you, start by asking you, when did you first start playing rugby? How old were you? Where were you?
I was 5 when I first started. My dad took me down to Salisbury it was actually under sevens training because that was the youngest they did. So I went down when I was 5. So I was a year younger than some of the other lads, and I hated it. My first couple of sessions, I just didn't like it at all. So he was like, "All right, fine, we won't go." So didn't go, and then came back a year later when I was 6, and that's when I properly started getting into it and going every weekend.
That sounds so. It was your dad that got you into it then, eventually?
Yeah, like my family. Well, my dad played a lot when he was younger, and my granddad played a bit when he was younger. So we've always sort of been a rugby family. My dad's like main sports rugby, so yeah, he got me into it and took me down and got me playing.
Okay. And you still playing today, despite Corona and everything?
Yeah. So we're training. I'm actually injured at the moment, just off the back end of an injury, but we're still training full time. So because obviously professional sport, we're allowed to. Off the back of that, you're allowed to train despite the regulations. So we're very lucky in the fact that we do get to train anyway.
Yeah. What was your injury, if you don't mind me asking?
Uh, so I ruptured my ACL, and then off the back of that, so ruptured the ACL, came back, was fine, and then when they did the ACL, I had a meniscus tear as well, and they tried to repair it, but the repair failed on that. So I then had to have another operation to take the meniscus out. So I'm just coming off the back end of that. It's been like 2 years of operations and rubbish, and which
Yeah.
isn't ideal, but hey, we're getting there. I'm just coming off the back of that now, so back into training at the moment.
Oh, I wish you a speedy recovery then, mate. That sounds awful. um, what team are you playing for at the minute? You said you're training.
I'm at Bath.
Oh, you're at
So,
Bath. Am I right in saying you got to play for England at one point?
yeah, so I played England under 18s. I was lucky enough to play for England 18s against Scotland, just in a friendly match. So when my last year of school, when I was 17 at the time, so I came off a decent season with Bath under 18s at the time. So I was part of that academy there, and came off the back of a really decent season with them, and got invited up to one of the England under 18 training camps. So had a weekend there, and then a couple of weeks later, I got a phone call saying, "We've got a game this weekend. You're selected. Come up to Middlesbrough." So played Scotland under 18s for England under 18s, which was really cool.
That's very cool. And how was it that you got to play for Bath Rugby? I know it's not the pay to play sort of deal, is it?
No, so started out playing for Salisbury. So played Salisbury, and then at under 14s, I think. So I played for Salisbury for years and years and years. They then nominate you for the county setup. So I played them for the county. Um, Played for the county. Got then asked to go along for the Bath trials or whatever they were after playing for the county, and then through those, like they have loads of different layers of system. But started out under 14, effectively got into the Bath Academy, and was in that all the way through to under 18s. And then when I was an under 18, I got my first professional contract. So that's what I'm doing now.
Okay. So to what extent do you feel like you've earned your place either in England under 18s or Bath Rugby?
I
Right.
mean, massively so, to be honest. Like it's one of those things that like you don't really. It's done on merit, really. Like if you're not, sorry, that's my phone going off. If you're not like, it sounds arrogant or whatever, but it's not like if you're not good enough, they don't pick you. And I've been not picked before in my career and whatever, and it's just part of the sport. So you do get them on merit, and you do get selected based on merit, and you do get the accolades based on merit. So yeah, pretty much earned where I am today.
And how much would you say you owe to Salisbury Rugby and the people who trained you there to your?
Oh, a massive amount. Obviously, it was my first and only like rugby club like that, and from when I was under 7 to when I was probably under 16 was the last time I was fully involved. But that's a huge 9-year period of most Sundays during the season, well, almost every Sunday during the season, turning up and doing a couple of hours, and like the guys there, the coaches there do it on their own free time, or whatever, and they put in a huge amount of work into developing you and developing the team. And like even like we had a pretty decent team when I was at Salisbury, but even then, like the enjoyment factor and wanting to keep you in rugby and helping you develop and just giving you a chance to experience the sport by then while then progressing and whatever. And it is a huge like it is a massive plus in terms of those rugby clubs of those sides. You just turn up and play with anyone of all abilities, and it's really good. And I was lucky enough to I played a couple of games for the Salisbury first team when I came off the back of an under-18 season. There was no rugby on because all the academy stuff had finished, and I rang up the coach and went, "Hey, I haven't got any rugby. Any chance I could get a couple of games?" And they managed to slot me in for the last 2 games of the season, which again, exactly like massive facilitators of just playing rugby, and I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. Am I right in saying that was it Russell and Neil and that they start training you under sevens and then they came up with you, so they stayed
Yeah,
with
so
your group of boys rather than letting you move on?
yeah, so the coaches they were just parents. They were parents of people in our age group, so playing with their sons, but they then coached us through all the age groups and whatever. And they had a few other guys came in, but Russell Jug and Neil Jones were the two main ones who sort of carried on that progression, and they stayed with the boys up the way all through under 18s, so from under sevens all the way through under 18s, same coaches. And we did all right, to be fair. That Salisbury team, we were half decent.
Yeah. No, I remember us winning a few games at least.
One or two.
Next one's sort of a very like general question. Have you got any role models, either within the sort of rugby world or in general, that you can attribute your sort of career to?
So I'll give you two. Like my main like hero growing up was Richard Hill. So the England flank crew won the World Cup. He actually went to the same school as I did, and like I've been lucky enough to strike up a bit of a relationship with him. Not a huge one, but we recognise each other and would chat if we're about. But he was a hero of mine growing up. So played in the same position that I now play, and he was obviously there's that personal connection, but also he was one of the best rugby players in the world when I was really young. So he was sort of like my dad's era of England rugby. So I guess probably I saw my dad watching them, and then he was like the guy growing up. I was like, oh, how sick would it be to be Richard Hill? Um, and then more recently, like Sonny Bill Williams, I've always thought like, and it's a bit far flung, because obviously he's from New Zealand and completely unrelated position to me, but for me, it was sort of his commitment to sport in general, whether that be rugby union, rugby league, boxing, like whatever he put his mind to, he then became world class at. And I thought that like that attitude and that hard work is something that I really like, really resonated with me, and I thought that's really, really inspiring. So I sort of look up to him as well.
Decent. And can you, so obviously rugby is very beneficial for your physical health, despite injuries it's caused you. What can you name any sort of other benefits outside physical fitness that rugby's like made for you?
There's a huge social benefit to it. So in terms of like you meet people who you might not normally meet, or even if you would meet them, like you will instantly have that bond with each other. Like if you're playing in the same team as one another, you instantly form a connection, and you have that connection, and you don't even have to be best mates with them, but like you automatically have a connection with them, and you have something to start a social connection with. So there's a huge social connection, like ability to meet new people. Not even like if I turn up to Salisbury under 14s, we then go to a tournament with 4 other teams. Suddenly you start chatting to one of them, like, and I come across these guys most days in terms of whether that be like around and about or on social media or whatever, who guys who like were playing for opposition teams when we were under 14s, who I've then made a connection with, and you come about them in society. And then for me, there's also a massive mental side of the rugby well-being. Like if you talk about the physical aspect, and obviously getting out of the house and running around is really good for you, but it's also really good for your mental side of things. And I know for me, when I used it as a massive outlet for like it was my sort of highlight of the week, and therefore mentally it was a really good stimulus, and it was really positive to be able to play rugby. And like clubs like Salisbury like huge, because every weekend you can play, whether if you're playing for like the county or whatever, like while that might be a higher accolade, you get 2-3 games a season or whatever. Salisbury's every weekend, like when you get higher up, Wednesday nights, Thursday nights, and gets you out the house, really get to run around, enjoy yourself with your mates, and it's really, really good for your mental health.
Yeah, I completely agree. So rugby obviously has its 5 values: integrity, passion, solidarity, discipline, and respect. To what extent would you attribute yourself to those values? Like how how's rugby helped you?
It sounds really like twee or whatever, but I'm in my mind, like those values are they're what the RFU has as their rugby values or whatever, but equally they're values for like living, like respect and things like that's just how ideally you'd live your life. And I think like those values, while you might not come back to them every day and look at them and go, do I hold myself to those values? If you want to be a decent member of society in any way, decent in any workplace, those are great values to hold yourself to. So I think that they are really important. Whether we look at those and have them written out or whatever, but to actually look at them every now and again and go, am I holding myself to those is really beneficial.
Yeah. And lastly, what do you what do you see your future for your rugby career to be?
I mean, hopefully I carry on. Like I've been given a massive opportunity as a professional rugby player to as a start as a career. Hopefully I can continue that and play well and get another contract, keep going. And I mean, my end goal is eventually to play for England, and that's there in terms of the goals. And obviously there are different steps along the way. I'd love to play. I'd love to make my senior debut for Bath and play for Bath, and then rack up appearances for Bath, have a long career in the sport, maybe one day play for England. But that all comes with hard work and whatever down the line. But that's hopefully where I see the career going, as I'd love to make a career out of it.
Yeah, I know my dad and I have joked about seeing you play for England in the future. So wish you the best of luck with that, mate.
Cheers, mate. Appreciate it.
Other than that, mate, you've been absolutely fantastic. I've got everything I need. I can only say thanks very much. I wish you a very speedy recovery with your ACL and meniscus. Other than that, yeah, take care of yourself.
Cheers.
And thanks very much.
Appreciate it, mate. Good
Cheers,
to catch up.
Yeah,
Cheers,
see you
bud.
later. All right, take
Bye.
care.